Hi, my name is Elisha, and I'm a L'Oreal Pro Artist specializing in curly hair for the last 10 years. And I'm here with the power of the collective to showcase my 3-type curl pattern tips and tricks. Today, I'm going to be showcasing how to identify 3-type curl patterns, as well as how to add shape to curls, styling techniques, and how to safely color 3-type curl patterns. So today I'm here with my beautiful model, Alina, and she is a great representation of a 3-type curl pattern. She has great curly hair, but she also has a bunch of different curl patterns within the 3-type range. And how I identify the curl patterns within Alina's hair, because she's such a great representation of all the curl patterns within the 3-type realm, I normally look at the root and the ends of her curl. So for this section, normally on the top here, you may see a looser pattern, but you can tell in the front of her hair here that she has a tighter curl pattern. So you will see a lot of that in the 3-type realms, where they will have multiple patterns within one hair type. Now, when I like to identify the curl types, I like to again look at the root area and see how much the curl is forming from the root and how high the curl pattern goes. Now, you can tell in her hair pattern here that the looser pattern has a lower formation from the root area, but the tighter formation in and around her face has a higher elevation and a higher form from the root area. So you can see that this form at the end of the curl is more rounded and more of a ringlet versus the looser pattern, which is more of a wave towards the ends. Okay, so when we are looking at different curl patterns within the 3-type range, again, I said around the crown area, you may find that the curl pattern is looser. And in the nape area, you may find that the curl pattern can either be looser or curlier. In Alina's case, you can see that her curl pattern is a lot tighter in the nape area and a lot looser in her crown area. And this just is a great representation of the differences between 3 patterns and different curl patterns within one hair type, but also within the realm of the scale from 2 to 4, where you can see that she has multiple curl patterns within her hair, especially around the crown area and then again in the nape. And this is really helpful when cutting the hair, because you're going to be able to see a good representation, especially when you're doing a dry cut, on where the curls are going to land based on their formation. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys how I shape and do a cut on a 3-type curl pattern. You can see my lovely mannequin here. She has beautiful curls, I would say ranging in about the 3B to 3C range. And typically what I like to do is I always like to dry cut. I'm doing a dry haircut like this. I really want to make sure that I am not cutting off too much and I'm creating the shape that the client desires. So when I section the hair off, I first brush out the curls a little bit. And the reason is because when you have a 3-type curl pattern, you'll notice that a lot of the curls end up forming within themselves. And to give us some precision, we really want to see if we can brush some of those curls out so that we can make sure that we are getting all the split ends or any ends in order for us to create the haircut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my fingers and I'm just going to brush some of the curls out here, especially the ones that are sitting closer to the nape area, because those are the ones that tend to form and curl the most and have the most shrinkage because of like the shoulders, their products and stuff like that. So we really want to make sure that we're getting precision. So I'm just going to brush these out. And it doesn't have to be full brushed out to the point that it is a fro. We just want to brush it out so that we can have a little bit more precision, and we can also see the different patterns in the hair and also where the hair lives. And it's really important to look in the scalp and look for cowlicks or the way that the hair grows, natural parting, because curly hair can be very finicky, and we really want to work with the way that the hair is naturally falling so that it's easier for the client to recreate the shape that we've done, as well as it's easier for us to cut the hair where the curls are lying instead of just cutting wherever. And so I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna section the hair. I like to go behind the ear as well as on the other side. Again, I'm using the mannequin's natural parting, and that's also what I did with Alina, is I made sure that I used her natural parting so that it is easier for her to recreate the shape that I have created for her. After I've sectioned out the front area, I'm gonna just clip it over out to the side. I'm gonna go right into the back. I'm gonna go right below the ears where the nape begins. And one tip is that when we're cutting 3-type curl patterns or even tighter, that we do not want to have too much tension on the haircut, on the curls themselves, because that can change the way the hair looks at the end. We really want to make sure that we're working with the natural fall of the curls. And typically in the nape area, this is an area that gets a lot of breakage. So you may notice that there is a difference between the length at the crown area and the length at the nape area. Now, when we're looking at the nape area, we want to see towards the end how much split ends or how much breakage that we are getting, so that we can really inform the client that they may need to take a little bit more length off based on how they want their desired shape, or just in general for hair health. We do want to just let them know where their length lives, and this is going to give them a better representation of how the end result's going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another subsection, and it's going to be about an inch to 2 inches. And it can be bigger based on how the client's hair health is. My mannequin is quite full, so I don't need to really take up the length too much or create too much weight, because she naturally has a lot of weight because, again, it's a mannequin, right? As I was cutting, I started to notice that there was some pieces that were not cohesive with everything else. And that is the reason why I do brush out the hair, so that I can get any of those pieces that I might have missed. Another pro tip is that if you notice, again, the elevation from the root area, because it is a higher texture towards the root, this is another reason why you don't need to use so much tension, because curly hair, especially 3-type hair, has a natural elevation from the root area. So as I'm working my way up, repeating what I've done in the beginning, you will notice that it'll naturally start to begin to create a shape. Now, when I head over to the crown area, that is when I'm actually going to add more elevation to counteract any triangle or heaviness that I may be getting in this crown section here. Now that I've reached the crown area, what I like to do, because there is a natural slope that is created from the roundness of the head, I do like to section this hair off here and bring it up about 90 degrees. And I use my bottom section as my guide. And I'm gonna pull everything up to 90, making sure that there is not too much tension on the hair. Pro tip, if you feel like you are trying to get the elevation and precision for the elevation, that you can add tension, then just relax your hand. When you relax your hand, you let go of that tension, and then you are less likely to cut too much off. So now that I am at the proper elevation that I need to be at, I will kind of grab the hair in a fist like this, and begin to cut. Now we are going to move to the front sections as well as facial framing. So for facial framing, again, I like to use the client's natural parting. I'm going to use my claw clip again to do a diagonal section towards their ear. The pro tip that I like to do for this sectioning as well as for cutting the front sections, when I go in with the facial framing, I will create that shape first. I won't cut as much off because I know that when we restyle the hair, what will happen is that those curls will really take in a lot of the moisture and pop right up. So I like to actually cut less than the client desires because I really want to give myself a little bit of room to be able to cut more after I finish styling her hair. Now, this section right here where the ear is and this side panel here, we really want to make sure that we are keeping this area called the swing line, because if we cut into this area where the facial framing meets the back section, we can create a hole in the haircut and it will really not look nice for your client. They will be pretty upset. So we really want to make sure that we are sectioning the swing line out of the way. So what I do is I create this V pattern that you can see here. I will section off about 2 inches roughly out of the hair. And this is my connection swing point for the rest of the haircut. And I'm going to continue just like the back of the nape to build weight here because this tends to be an area that is finer than the rest of the hair in terms of density. So I'm really taking my time when cutting this area not to take too much off and not to elevate it too high because I do not want to create a hole in the haircut. And now I'm going to create the facial framing. Again, no tension in this area. I'm going to point my scissors towards the face. And I'm just going to slowly trim those areas. Again, using my scissors as a guide, pointing diagonally towards the bottom. And now we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side, being mindful that you are having a swing line, but as well as no tension in that area, especially when we are cutting around the face. So now we're going to head into the color and I'm going to show you guys my sectioning. So for my sectioning, I like to do a nice big horseshoe around the front to the crown area, as well as 2 triangle sections on both sides. And then 3 sections at the back here. The reason I do section like this is because I like to work with the roundness of the head. And I believe that this sectioning is the best way to do that. It also helps me be a little bit more faster, as well as it helps with just giving some more depth in the hair color. After I've sectioned, I'm gonna go in with Metal Detox. This is a preventative treatment that helps capture any metals or buildup in the hair that may counteract the lightener, causing some type of chemical reaction. So this is the first step in all my colors. I make sure that I add this to my clients just because, again, with curly hair clients, they tend to have a little bit more buildup, especially from the cream products. So I do every section and I really make sure that I saturate it with the Metal Detox and then follow up with the shampoo. When I am beginning with a lightener, I always like to stagger my developer, staying under 20 volume. Normally I start with a lower developer for my first foil because it's going to be in there for the longest period of time. So I really want to make sure that I don't over process the curls because they tend to have a higher porosity than straight hair. So especially when it is a 3 type client, because they typically can be a little finer in texture. So I do want to take it slow, low and slow. Okay, so now I have my first subsection. I am going to section this piece out again, about a 1/2 inch. Curly hair, again, is really fine. So when we are teasing the hair, we really want to make sure that we are not adding any damage to the curl patterns, but we also want to make sure that we're not adding any additional tangling. So what I like to do for when I tease, my pro tip, especially when we're trying to not tangle the hair or add any additional damage to the client's hair. So I'm going to hold the hair at the ends, the mid-length to ends. I'm going to place my comb into the ends and push up. This is really helpful for not allowing the hair to tangle too much because, again, curly hair is more prone to tangling. I'm going to take my first foil. Now I'm going to start my lightener at the end of the hair, pushing it right in. It is really important to make sure that you have enough saturation because 3 type curl patterns curl into themselves naturally. You really want to make sure that you're pushing that lightener right into the curls, making sure that it's fully saturated everywhere. And then I like to just push the lightener up into the root area, creating a seamless blend so that there is no harsh lines in my color. As I work my way up towards the crown of the head, I am going to continue to check my foils. And this is really important, again, for 3 type curl patterns or any curl patterns in general, because we don't want to over process the curls. So we really want to make sure that we are checking the foils consistently. And if we feel like we are at the place that we need to be in terms of the level, then we're going to remove the foil and remove the lightener so that we don't over process the curls. So now I'm going to switch into a diagonal sectioning, and this is again going to help make it more seamless and follow the natural shape of the head. In terms of the lightener that I'm using today, I always like to choose a lightener that has a bonder inside, and this is just going to give me extra protection as I work through the hair pattern and as I lift to my desired level. So I'm going to do diagonal sections all the way up the head, following the shape of the head. I like to start off with slicing with the tease and then work my way up to a bigger weave. The reason why is because I don't want my color to get lost within the density of the curl pattern. Now, if I do more of a baby light or finer weaves, I'm going to lose that dimensional color that I'm looking to create. For the color, I'm going to use an alkaline color base, which is going to add long-lasting shiny results. I'm starting off with a level 5 with a gold chocolate and a level 6 with a copper chocolate, adding warmth to my client's hair. Now that we've moved on from color, we are going to start the styling. And for the styling, I'm using 2 different products. I'm using a mousse and a gel cream. This is going to add volume as well as definition into the hair. Pro tip, when styling a 3 type client, you do want to make sure that the hair has been conditioned with some type of treatment, especially after the color. This helps lock in the moisture before we add any products. We also want to make sure that the hair is sopping wet. As you can see, my mannequin is quite wet right now, so even this would be not wet enough. I'm looking for sopping wet hair, so I do have a spray bottle here that I'm going to use as I go through the hair. I do like to section off the hair when I am styling it. It just gives me more control. So I'm gonna go ahead and section it off. And again, I do like to have my client sitting where her head is facing towards the ceiling. It's just easier for me and it's less uncomfortable for the client because she won't be getting sopping wet from all the water that's going to be in her hair. I'm going to begin to add some more water into my client's hair, making sure that it is wet. The reason that we do like to use a lot of water when applying product is the water is like a vehicle moving the product through the hair, making sure that it's in every ounce and every section of the hair. But it also is the time that the hair has zero frizz. And this is when we want to lock in that look. So I'm going to start with some foam in this first section. I am going to make sure that I get the mousse right into that root area, pulling it through with my hands. Once that is distributed, then I'm going to go right in with my cream gel. Again, rubbing it in my hand so that I have a nice even layer. Going right into the root area. And I'm going to apply all the way to the ends. And you can see how the definition and shine is just coming out. Pro tip, you can use a brush to help with timing and really to help smooth that product in. When I'm using a brush, I'm placing the brush right at the root area and ribboning it through the hair. And I'm going to follow this technique all the way through every inch of her hair, and then I'm gonna go in with the diffuser. So pro tip, when you're applying product and you wanna know how much product that you're adding and if it is enough, you can start to see the way that the curls form. If you're seeing any frizzy areas, that means that you should be adding either more water or more product. I like to start with more water and then I'll see how those curls are forming and then go back in with more product if needed. Another pro tip would be to make sure that you have enough product in water, and a good indication of that is that when we scrunch up, we hear this kind of squishy sound, and that's how you know that there's enough, there's a good ratio of product to water. It also helps get rid of some of that excess water so that when you start diffusing, you're not spending all day diffusing. So now we're going to head into diffusing. The reason why I do like to diffuse all of my clients is because it's going to help create a cast over the hair and help with longevity. When we are diffusing, we do want to start off with medium to high heat, and we do want to begin with a hovering motion. This again is going to help build and set the cast, and it's also going to help manage the frizz. If we were going to start going right in with the diffuser, you're going to break up the product too soon, and then the hair is just going to be frizzy. Now we're back with beautiful Alina, and what we are going to talk about is hair care. And what I do recommend for all of my clients when they are leaving with their hair colored is to leave with the products that I recommend. But professional hair care products such as the shampoo and mask. I do like to use a metal detox just to keep the hair from getting any heavy metals so that when they come back, we'll really get to see the true shine of their hair. And in terms of salon visits, I do recommend about every 3 months them coming in for their regular hair trims. So my 3 pro tips would be for the haircut is low tension, keeping mindful of the swing line. My second pro tip would be the color and making sure that the developer is slow and low. And then for styling, making sure that the hair is completely wet when you're applying products. Thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you guys learned something about 3 type curl patterns that you're going to be able to implement in the salon. And I encourage you to head over to our YouTube, Power of the Collective, and follow us on Instagram.